Nobody wants the VIP section? So everybody that hasn't signed in yet, everybody should sign in. Thank you so much. All right. Did I miss anybody who is in the competition? Anybody? Did I miss? If I'm not saying, hey, how you doing? Welcome. Or you in the competition? That means I need to know. Good. As you see, sitting on this stool, I just got from Walmart, is the tiny Oscar. It's on there engraved as 2025 TSA Story Slam champion, and there's a check from the Texas Storytelling Association. Give it up for them, y'all. All right, I am Mike Gwynn. I think we're going to go ahead and get started, y'all. I think it's time, right? Remember now, after we start, we can't have anybody in the competition after we start, okay? Now, we had a lot of people sign up, but rain and other stuff happened, so a lot of people just couldn't make it, and it's okay. We had a robust 53 people sign up, 30 for the Story Slam and 23 for the Poetry Slam. But for the Poetry Slam, only 15 of those 23 showed up, so we were able to get everybody in, and we finished early, okay? For this one, we have maybe 13 of those storytellers so far, all right? And we had a chance to add a gentleman, because I can't add them until after everybody checks in, and everybody's checked in, and it's now time. I want to see if anybody, David, come up here, David. Y'all, give it up for David, y'all. Come on, David, come on, David. You know, this is housekeeping, y'all, kind of reiterate what's going on, okay? All right?
I'm going to stand down here.
Oh, you got it?
I use my best Victorian voice. I am the chief of this building, so if you have any problems, like you need some help or whatever, contact me. I'm going to be sitting back here at the table with double lamps, and you can't help but see me. If you're going to get a cookies or whatever, because we have to pay for cleaning, please, listen and all that, but eat out in the little over here, as you come in. And make certain, and the reason we sign in is one of our grant requirements is to show that people come to these events. Well, what's your proof? Well, we had 355,000 people. I think that was not that many. But still, thank you for coming. Everything's fine. Y'all are looking fabulous because you're all fabulous. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
All right. We got a few people. If you have not signed in yet, please do that. David said at the table, please sign in. All right. So we're going to go ahead and do your thing. Now, if you can project like David and I have, and you can stand here, you want to get on stage, or you can have better lighting for pictures, you can go ahead and do that right there as well. But I think Ron is prepared for folks to stand up here so he can get you some good lighting and good sound. Okay, cool? All right. So I'm going to give you the rules for the Story Slam. I'm going to introduce our judges. And then we're going to go from there, okay, cool? Yeah. Is everybody comfortable? Everybody's good? Yeah. All right, more people, so I think it's a little bit warmer now, right, sir? A little bit warmer? Yes, 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 a little bit, okay. All right, so here we go. My name is Mike Gwynn. You see the signage around here. I am a proud member of the TSA Storytelling Association. This is my third year of doing this live. Before that, it was virtual. And so, just having fun, y'all. I am from East Texas. If you're just coming in, you can sign in at that table over there. Just go around there right there. Get some water. Yeah, you got it. Anyway. Oh, y'all security? Okay, go ahead. They can sign in and get a chance to go with that table right there. Yeah, you got it. Okay. All right, so yeah, from East Texas, undergrad degree in social work from Stephen F. Austin. Yes, nobody. Okay. Masters at UTA. Yes, no. Yeah. I'm in Denton. I forgot. All right, cool. Worked for a long time as a CPS investigator for the state of Texas in Fort Worth. After a few years, I left there and moved to California and started acting. And now I'm back in Texas. There it is back there in my career. No, I'm kidding. I'm still doing a lot of stuff with Los Angeles. I'm doing a lot of things. I started my creative writing career as an investigator, but then I had to have a place to share that. So I found this group called the Zawadi Writers. And after that, everything just came naturally. All the other opportunities, it's been amazing, okay? So that's a little bit about me. If you want to know more, visit my table right there, y'all, okay? I host 6 different open mics around the city. I'm also hosting a lot of concerts and, you know, a lot of different things. So I'd love to MC something for you. Let me know, okay, cool? All right, so I'm going to give you the rules for the slam. We'll get this thing started. Story Slam is going to go much like the Poetry Slam, except in the Poetry Slam there are 5 judges. In this one there are 3 judges. And we have our judges. Let me see if we can get the names here. All right. We have from the Bronx, now living here in Denton. Give it up for Judith. Y'all judge where she is right there. All right. Then we have from Hector. Give it up for Laura. Everybody, Laura in the back there. Our final judge, y'all, and she's also one of our finalists in our Poetry Slam. Give it up for Sonia from bottom of the house. All right, so this is random. What I've done is I put everybody's name on a piece of paper and put it in a hat. You shake it up, we pull it. It's all folded up, so I don't know who I'm pulling, okay? You could go first, you could go last, all right? So just be ready when I call your name. No matter who you came here to see or support, we applaud everybody. They're telling the stories, all right? They are sharing their hearts. Some of them drove a long way. We got a young lady here from Mexico and a guy from North Carolina. We have somebody here from Chicago. So people coming far and wide to come and do this, y'all. So show them some love. Yes, it's a competition. We have a check here, $50. All we got, $50. But it's more than that. It's also a community we're building. Okay, cool? All right. All right, so are you ready for the slam? Say yeah. All right, we are not ready yet. We have to have a sacrificial storyteller. I will be your sacrificial storyteller. I will tell you a story. This is a chance for the judges to calibrate. I'm the sack teller. Okay? You will judge me on the same criteria. Let me give you those criteria. Now, the story slam is based on a poetry slam. We have each poet will come up. Each storyteller would come up and they'll have 5 minutes to recite or read or act out an original story. As soon as you engage the crowds, time starts. You have up to 5 minutes. If you go over that, then there'll be time penalties, and that can hurt your placement. Okay? All right. So judges are going to score you on originality, content, and your performance. We're going to call out all the scores. At the end of each story, I'll say judges on a count of 3. 1, 2, 3. You will hold those scores up and write them big and bold, because I'm not as young as I used to be. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? And these are the people. Anyway. So write them big, okay? So that we can see these scores, okay? And then we're going to always call out the low score first. It is going to be the first score I call out, and we always boo that low score. What we're going to do for that low score? What we're going to do, what we're going to do for the storytellers? Yeah! There we go. Judges, it's your job not to be swayed by the audience. Audience, it's your job to do everything you can to sway these judges, okay? All right, and we find this right. Any questions before I go? Any questions, everybody? Yes?
What is the scoring system?
0.1 to 10. All right? 0.1, 6.8, 3.7, 9.3. Use those type of points, okay? We can't have a 10-way tie. We got to go to the Lions game. All right. Let me find what I'm going to do here. I know I'm going to do something. All right, there we go right there. And if you get a chance, y'all, please sign in before you go. There's a list here. There you go. There's a sign in right there. So we can float it around. There's a sign in at this table because that helps with funding. Okay, cool. So we'll find it. We'll get the sign in. All right, cool. All right, here we go. Again, welcome everybody. We appreciate y'all being here and supporting this wonderful event. Should have blue. Okay, here it is. Let's see if I can do it from memory. There she was. One hand on her walker, and the other attached to a leash, attached to one of those little weenie dogs. And I could tell by the way that cigarette hung on her lips and that big bold bumper sticker that my neighbor did not like me. We couldn't stand each other. She was always watching me, judging me, watching me. Those beady blue eyes followed my every move. We couldn't stand each other. Well, we may have had our differences, but our pets could care less about politics. Every day, my dog sat waiting anxiously to see her little friend. And when she spotted her, the walking began. Then what was once a battleground became common ground between my neighbor and I. And as we enjoyed the energy of two animals bonding, we started talking, casual COVID conversations. Hi, my name is Brenda, and this is Abby. Hey, my name is Mike, and this is Cassie. We did this every day, and our friendship grew. One day she came to me and said, Mike, please pray for my mom, Jean. Well, her mom passed shortly after that. My heart went out to her. Still, our daily routine continued. Whenever I ran out of those doggy food pickup bags, Brenda shared. And when she sees someone that I didn't know, well, I was right there. We decided that our pet's friendship and ours was way more important than politics. God is a genius the way he puts people together at a time when they need each other the most. At first I thought, uh-oh, not another one of those Karens, but it turned out deep down inside she was just so caring. And this is why I love my neighbor. Oh. One, two, three. I think I remember that. Remember now, we're going to move a little slow. That's why I'm a second book. We got to get this quick, judges. We got to get it quick. Judges, got to get it quick. Got to be quick, judges. That's why we sat, and we don't want that to happen while y'all performing. You ready, Judge? Gotta put them up. We're waiting on you. Yeah, you got to get, so as soon as I finish, 8.8, 9, whatever, okay? All right, we have a low score from the vegetarian judge of an 8. We have a 9.5 and 9.5. Give it up for the storyteller. Gotta be quick, judges. Gotta be quick. Gotta be focused on the artists up here. Otherwise, we'll have to find another judge. We don't want to do that, okay? All right. Are y'all ready for the first teller? Say yeah. Yeah. We all bougie yourself. Where think y'all from? Hector?
Yes.
Coming up first, your first storyteller will be. Give it up for Lou, everybody. Come on, Lou.
I felt the call of the sea pretty early. At 4 years old, I saw my first fawn, and I ran off the dock into the water. I just had to be in that medium. My mom was upset. There was an alligator there. But that's the highlight, that going to sea has its pitfalls. It has its dangers. I've seen a rogue wave. I've been through 3 hurricanes at sea. One of them was a ship killer. I've been followed by pirates. I've seen smugglers. And I've seen many, many places that a lot of you will never get to see. And that is the lure of the call of the sea. Now, one time, I was an operations officer on a research vessel. We were anchored a mile off of Delray Beach, Florida, and we were testing a new system of transmitting data without a cable. We were using transducers. And they were a mile apart and transmitting data over the course of a week. We were measuring baud rate, how much of the signal got through. Not very interesting stuff. And basically, all we had to do is make sure that we didn't have any fires or floods, and that we didn't shift on the anchor. So it was pretty light duty. As I was making my rounds, from over the side of the ship, I hear, "Hello, hello, is anyone up there?" And I walked over to the side of the ship, and there was a swimmer in the water. "Hey!" And I said, "What can I do for you?" He says, "Oh, I'm really thirsty. I was wondering if I could have some water." And I said, "You want to come aboard?" He goes, "Oh, yes, please." I said, "Well, let me check with the captain." So I talked to the captain. I said, "Someone had swum out to the ship." And he didn't quite believe me at first. I said, "No, he's really out there, and he's thirsty." He says, "Well, we can't leave anyone in the water if they're thirsty. But after he gets his drink, he's going right back down." I'm like, "Yes, Captain." He says, go get the bosun and rig the Jacob's ladder and bring him aboard. But he leaves as soon as he's done." I'm like, "Aye, aye." So I get the bosun, we lower the Jacob's ladder, which is a ladder that goes down to the water, and you have to climb up. It's not that easy to climb up and get aboard. I bring him aboard. I set out 2 deck chairs, a red one and a blue one. And I pointed to the red chair and I said, "You sit right there, I'm going to get you a glass of water." He says, "Oh, I don't know if that's a good idea." I'm like, well, what's the matter is, well, it's the red chair. If I take the red chair, I don't want to give the wrong impression. I don't know exactly what he meant by that, but I was like, you are not giving the wrong impression. So he sat down, I got the water, I brought it back to him, and I sat down in the blue chair next to him. And he takes a sip and he says, so, are y'all hiring? And I'm like, hiring? You mean crew? And he goes, yeah, I think I'd like to work here, and I'm a very good swimmer. I said, well, I know you're a very good swimmer, but it takes more than swimming to work on a ship. Yeah. Well, I'm a firefighter. And I said, well, you know, we all go to firefighting school aboard, and that is something we can use. And as he looked over to the side of the ship, he saw what we call an accountability board. It's a board with the names of the crew members and a red or green color next to their name. And if they're green, they're aboard. They're red, they're out ashore. He says, we have an accountability board in the fire department. I go, oh yeah? He says, yeah. If you go into the building, the burning building, they color you red. And if you're out, they color you green. I'm like, oh, that makes sense. He says, well, you know what happens if they spell your name wrong? What happens with that board? I'm like, they don't get you out of a burning building? He goes, exactly, how did you know? And I'm like, you're not doing well with the fire department, are you? He goes, no, I'm on medical leave. Yeah. Oh. So he says, but how long are you at sea? And I said, well, today is actually our 300th day at sea this year. He goes, 300 days? I don't know if the wife will go for that. I was not expecting that response. Well, in fact, a lot of wives really do understand if you keep sending home the paychecks. He goes, yeah, I guess so, but I got 3 kids. I'm like, you have 3? Yeah, they're right over there, under that blue and white parasol. And I saw the parasol. And I said, listen, you got to get going. And I said, as we were walking over to the edge of the vessel, you know, I was wondering, did you hear anything as you were swimming out to us? He goes, oh yeah, I heard your ship singing. I heard that song and I knew that it was calling to me. And I said, you know, you better get in. But I do know that not everybody who hears the call of the sea gets it right.
I hate to do it, y'all, but here it is. I hate to do it, y'all. It's a time thing, but here we gotta do it. Oh, the professional judges are ready. All right, judge, I'll wait for the judge. There it is. All right, on the count of 3, y'all. 1, 2, 3. We have a low score of 7.5. We have a 7.6 and 8.9. Give it up for Lou, everybody. All right, and keep it going. Give it up for Steve, everybody. Come on, Steve. Steve! Woo!
So I was driving down the street, and I saw nothing scary, but them drivers never scare me much. Well, at least not very. But in the second lane, that's where I saw our 16-wheeler truck with nobody sitting inside. Now, I wasn't scared, but yet I stared. What could that truck be there for? Why would a truck as big as that be in my rearview mirror? And then it honked. That great big truck that really started squeaking. And that's when my heart, I must confess, I sort of started carrying. So I stepped on the gas and took off. That's the last thing I ever saw of it. I thought, later that day, I was up in Plano, And it was lunchtime, so I pulled into Taco Bueno, and I was sitting in my car enjoying something chewy when that same truck came round the corner and almost ran into me. Well, I forgot all about the taco. I really didn't care. I got the heck out of there. Believe me, I had really had a scare. And then that night, on the road, down by the river, that same truck again came rolling toward me. That's when I began to shiver. By that time, I was so frightened that I'll tell you, I don't want to, but I escaped, but scraped my paint on the side and on the front too. I drove till I saw, of all things, a pickle barn, and that's where I hid myself away. Now my clothes soon smelled like pickles, but I stayed there anyway. I stayed all night, and the next night too. I'd be there still, no doubt, but, well, shoot, I had things to do, so later I went out. I had to get some groceries in a store 5 miles away. Didn't want to do it, but I did it anyway. I told myself, I do not fear that truck with nobody inside it. Yeah. Over and over I said that phrase. I said it, but I lied it. So I set out, hoping never again to see a truck as big as that in my mirror following me. But when I pulled into the parking lot, much to my surprise, a truck pulled in right next to me, about 10 times my size. There I was in the Walmart lot, and in that unlikely place, that spooky, empty truck and I were standing face to face. I screamed for help. I howled at that crowd, please save me from this empty truck, because there's nobody standing inside it. But then the strange thing happened. That truck's cab door opened wide, and I could see a cardboard box sitting on the seat inside. I figured I could get that box, but only if I dared. I tiptoed cautiously towards it. I was really scared. And I took that box out and I set it down, and I was surprised to see that Amazon had shipped that box and had delivered it to me. Now it's probably at this point clear to you, because it was plain to see, that Amazon now has robot trucks to make deliveries. They even have this tracking thing that knows right where you are. You cannot escape them, not even in your car. Our paths still cross from time to time, an empty truck and I, and when they do, I don't scream, I don't cry, I just get my box and I wave goodbye. So that's my story, and none was ever truer. But I hope someday you will recall this tale by Steve McClure.
Thank you, everybody. All right, awesome. Professional day. All right, so Steve, we're count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold up high. We have a 9.3, a 9.5, and a 9.5. Give it up to Steve, everybody. Y'all are awesome, by the way. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all. Hey, if you want to know more about where I'm doing this thing, my stuff is right here. Go check it out, y'all. All right. Coming up next, y'all, give it up Mr. D.C. Cornish, everybody.
Once upon a time in a faraway place that they called America, there were a group of people, and these people had to decide how they wanted to run things. So they said, you know what, we need to divide up. We need people in charge. And we need an odd number. So let's have a group of folks that make decisions. Let's have a group of folks that write checks. And a group of folks that just kind of argue about stuff, make up rules and things. So they came up with 3 branches of government. Now, they had these 3 branches of government, everything was going along fine, until one day they realized they didn't have no money. So they invented a thing. They called it taxes. They invented taxes and they started gathering up all the taxes. They was using the taxes to take care of themselves and spend things. But then one day somebody said, you know what, we need to do something with those taxes. People might get irate. You know, that's what caused that ruckus in 1776. So they gathered all the taxes. And they went out and they bought a bunch of stuff. They bought a bunch of stuff that they didn't want. And they bought a bunch of stuff. Not only did they not want it, we didn't need it. But they kept right on collecting taxes. Now, one day after they collected all the taxes, they said, you know what, we ought to do something with that stuff because people going to notice all that stuff is being packed up and ain't nothing being done with it. We need to move it. They said, well, where are we going to put it? This is America. We got a big old desert out there. And there's a town to it called Lost Wages. So they moved all the stuff that they had, spent our tax money on that they don't want, we don't need, into the middle of the desert in a town called Lost Wages. Now they were sitting around kind of wondering and thinking everything was going on pretty good. And then one day they was at a bachelor party, and one of the fellas looked at the others and said, hey, look here, man. You know what I was thinking about that thing we got out there? It'd be a shame if somebody came and stole it. Ooh, you're right. So they got together and they hired a watchman. So they hired the watchman and he went out into the middle of the desert called Lost Wages where they put all the stuff that they spent our tax money on that they don't need. And everything was cool. Until one day they was at a baby shower. And one lady said, girl, you know what, we got that man out there, we don't know what he's doing. Oh, you're right. So they got together and decided to hire a supervisor. So they hired a supervisor for the night watchman who was watching over the stuff that was sitting out in the middle of the desert in a town called Lost Wages that they spent our tax money on that they don't want, we don't need. And everything was going on fine. Until one day, they was all at a brunch. And they was all eating and had the things on it. And said, you know what? We got that thing going on out there, and everything's supposed to be going fine, but every now and then we might need some reports, information about what's going on out there. They said, you know what? We need a quality control inspector. So I hired a quality control inspector to keep up on the supervisor who was watching over, the night watchman who was watching over the stuff that they put out in the middle of the desert in a place called Lost Wages that we don't want, they don't need. And then after a while, the reports started coming in. And they said, you know what, these reports look terrible. We're going to need an administrative secretary. So they hired an administrative secretary to keep reports for the quality control inspector who was watching over the supervisor who was taking care of the night watchman who was watching over the stuff that was sitting in the middle of the desert in a lot of ways that they spend our tax money on that they don't want, we don't need. And then one day they all got together. And they was talking. They said, hey, look here, man. What's the deal on that project y'all got going out in the middle of the desert? He said, oh. And they called a committee. They put their committee together, and the committee started looking at everything that was going on, and they came up, and they said, you know what? We got a problem out there. What's that? That project is over budget. Well, what are we going to do? So they got together and they came up with a solution. They fired the night watchman. And no matter how many times we have new beginnings, the end is always the same. Thank you. Please join us, everybody.
All right, so when we get close to that 5 minutes, I'm going to hold that up and wrap it up. Okay, cool? I don't want anybody to have that thing called time penalty, which is 0.5 for every 10 seconds over time. All right, cool? All right, scores for DC on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. What we got here? We got a low score for the vegetarian of an 8.9. We have a 9 point. Go ahead and give it to him. We have a 9.2 in our first 10. Give it up for these. another time so we can go over to the other things, okay? Remember now, if you're in the Story Slam, and especially if you're one of our winners in top 3, come follow us over to the main building. We're gonna get on stage and we're gonna be like, hey, Story Slam and Poetry Slam winners, give it up over there in the audience, on stage winners, blah, blah, blah. We want them to know that we were the voice to be reckoned with. All right, give it up for Crystal, everybody. Come on, Crystal.
There are 3 topics that we're told not to really talk about. One of them is money. The second one is politics. And who can guess the third one?
Sex.
Try again one more time. Not sex.
Religion.
Religion. Very good. I knew a girl who was molested by a church leader when she was little. And a wicked version of touched by an angel. She sees life from an angle, often mangled. As an adult, she can't stand religion, faith, and two-faced personas, ellos personas es basura, the things that go on in her medulla. You can definitely see her soul through her eyes. The tears she cries fill oceans with emotions of sadness and madness on the cusp of imploding. And you know what? I don't judge her. And you shouldn't either. Story 1. Story 2. I ain't the one who enslaved you people. I got mixed grandchildren. I made love to a black woman back in 1964. I ain't racist, but some damn wetbacks are criminals. And the Haitians are eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. I don't see color. I don't see color.
Open mind, open mind. I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all are awesome. All right, Crystal, we got work to do. All right, remember now, we don't have security judges. You don't yell. 1, 2, 3. On the pie, we have a low score of an 8.5. We have a 9 and a 9.7. Give it up for Crystal. See how quickly it's going? Well, I'm glad y'all was on time. Y'all only missed like 8 people. All right, coming up next, give it up for Julia. Julie! How about it? All right.
Confession. I was only half listening to the minister. Mostly I pay attention in church, but let's be honest, there are plenty of distractions on a Sunday. Pastor Alex launched communion. In the Methodist Church, she said, all bread I make is gluten-free and vegan, and we shall share it to be inclusive. Wait a minute. Did the minister just tell us she bakes the communion bread? This woman likely works 60 hours a week, oversees a congregation of 500 with all of its births and deaths, stretches a budget as thin as dental floss, yet she is responsible for baking communion bread for 3 services? Is there no Methodist bread delivery service? No altar guild pickup? The horror! What would Jesus do? Well, you bet your creased khaki pants I marched right up to Pastor Alex after services and informed her that I would take over the baking of the gluten-free vegan bread while she cared for the infirm and the addicts. Exactly 4 weeks later, on a Saturday night at 9 p.m., I stood in my local Tom Thumb grocery store sweating through my pajama top. Yes, I had realized that the recipe would likely call for some sort of flour substitute. That didn't seem a problem given that half the world is gluten-free. Also, I live in the I needed to make 9 loaves of gluten-free vegan bread. There was only space in the shelves, just space. No potato flour, no almond, no buckwheat. Was there some sort of gluten-free festival? Were the vegans all home using their ovens? I peered down at the recipe and shrieked. The next ingredient on the list, psyllium husk. There is no substitute for this ingredient, the recipe ominously warned. What the hell is psyllium husk? It was growing so hot it was like Satan was breathing on me. I shuffled over to the gluten-free vegan crackers. Surely Pastor Alex wouldn't mind a substitute just this once. Surely she could bless crackers. Wasn't she the one adding the special ingredient, God's breath or touch or whatever it was that transformed the physical to the metaphysical? I tapped out a friendly text asking Pastor Alex. Bubbles, and a reply. No, Pastor Alex said, no, I could not use crackers. I needed freaking bread. I pushed off to an alternative grocery store. And there, on the end cap of aisle 3 of Kroger, were pre-made boxes of gluten-free vegan bread. I scooped up several boxes, a bottle of vegetable oil, and pure butter to chop out. Fast forward several hours, the house smelled comfortingly of yeast. Several loaves cooled on my countertop. I wiped my hands on my light housekeeping apron and bent down to inspect my work. Well, here's the thing. The loaves weren't brown like typical bread. In fact, they more looked like salad bricks of cottage cheese. I investigated, scratching a fork across the corner, and it instantly crumbled like a biscuit. I popped a hunk into my mouth. It tasted like salt was the only ingredient. Jesus, I breathed. I mean, that was a prayer. By now it was midnight, only hours before Pastor Alex needed my 9 loaves of bread. Stores were closed, and my 18-year-old son skidded into the kitchen wearing grimy socks, a box of Doritos dangling from one hand. Dude, what's all this? Is this your communion bread? He asked, and then he poked one finger, one cheesy orange index finger into my loaf. Ugh, it's gooey inside, Mom. Even Christ wouldn't eat this. 9 hours later, I'm back in the church pew. Having delivered my bread, Pastor Alex broke off piece after piece, feeding it to the officiants and the choir, and when my turn came, she handed me a pinch of gummy, paste-flavored, gluten-free bread. I dipped it in the grape juice, placed it on my tongue, and gagged. A few days after the service, I received a call from the minister. I was fired. I lost my job. Gently. Some nights when I can't sleep, I wonder about the afterlife. I picture St. Peter, who said to guard the gates of heaven. And in my vision, he's waiting for me with an iPad. Julie Blair Rixey, he says, scrolling. You did okay on Earth. You mostly tried hard, except when you didn't. And then there's this matter of the gluten-free vegan communion bread. I have to ask you, what the hell's psyllium husk?
Julie, everybody. Wonderful stories. Yes, it is a competition. Again, it is a community, okay? All right, remember that if you have not signed in, and before you leave, just sign in a little list right there in the corner, all right? If you have signed, don't do it now. Okay, relax, enjoy. All right, judges, for Julie on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. We have a low score of I'd kill for now. A 9.5, y'all. A 9.5 and a 9.6. Give it up for Julie. Going, we got right here, give it up for Dean Armstrong, everybody. Come on, Dean.
I remember a long time ago, my mother taking myself and Sue Bennett off to the buffet in our hometown. after we've been in water safety instructor training. I don't know about you guys, but after 3 hours of swimming in the deep end of the pool, I was hungry. We went to the buffet. My mom thought, oh, well, here we go. You can have anything you want. And I said, great. Up through the first 4 rounds, Sue was with me every time. She had been in the water with me. 5th and 6th rounds, I was by myself. 7th round, the manager of the store came up to me and said, you can't do that. And I said, well, the sign says all you can eat. And he said, you can't be eating all of this. And I said, yes, sir, I really am. As we left that evening, after they told us we couldn't come back, my mother said to me, I can't believe you. You have embarrassed me once again. You are just like your father. Okay. Well, I went for a number of years. Well, that was all I ever heard from her. Whenever I disappointed her, whenever I did anything, you're just like your father. And I came to understand she hated my dad. We were the only divorced family in my hometown. So I didn't understand for a long time what was going on. When I finally got it, it was like, okay. I went to my priest and I said, you know, I'm a little bit tired of her saying this to me all the time, that I'm like my dad because she hates my dad. And I don't want to feel like she hates me. So I don't know what to do. And he said, don't worry about it, I'll talk to her. A little while later, we were doing something, and she turned around, she looked at me, and she said, you know, I hope your children do to you what you're doing to me. Wow. I didn't know what that was. So that went on for a number of years, all the way up until I was about ready to leave home. And she kept saying the same thing. I hope your children do what you've done to me. Well, I ran away and got married. I was 20, my wife was 18 when we got married. Within the first year, we had a baby. The next time I saw my mother after we ran away to get married, she said, I hope that kid does to you what you've done to me. Okay. Well, let me see. My oldest daughter was my free-range kid. I wasn't old enough to know what the hell I was doing. Raising a kid, all I knew was change, put food in her, and change her diapers, and that was about it. Other than that, she was pretty much free-range. We lived in a place where she could. I just out the door, see ya. We had a dog for a long time, followed her around, so if I wanted her, all I had to do was whistle for the dog, and the dog drug her back, by a diaper usually. So that was pretty much the way things were going for a long time. And then one time I saw my mom again. My daughter was about 7 or 8, and she said, oh, I hope she's doing to you what you did to me. And I said, well, look at me, I'm getting bald. But she's a great kid. I love having my free-range kid. I don't have to worry about her much. We live in small towns. It was never really an issue. We had our second kid 10 years later. It was like we had 2 only children. Literally 2 only children. One was an only child until she was 10. The other was an only child from the time she was 10 until she was 24, when she left home, by the way. All the way through this, my mother kept saying, I hope your children do to you what you've always done to me. My mom passed away about 20 years ago. And I realized, after all those years of her saying that to me, that my children had done for me what I had done for her. I made her proud. I raised good kids. I raised a family that are very good. My 2 children now are way adults. Way adults. And I look at them and I think this is what my mother meant all that time. I hope your children do to you what you've done to me. Well, all they've done for me is fill my heart with joy. I love my kids more than anything except for my wife. And as of this spring, we are 55 years together. Stay alive at 55. It's a long time. But I will say that she is the joy of my life. And the only reason she's not here today is she is judging artworks. So that's why she's not here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean. Love it. Great timing. All right, judges. Y'all professional. 1, 2, 3. We have a low score of an 8.7. We have an 8.9. We have a 9.8. Give it up for Dean, everybody. 5 judges to go. All right. Next teller is, give it up for Roses, everybody, Roses.
The first book of the Bible is Genesis, and the last thought I had gave me a revelation. When you think of new beginnings, you smell the tears of a fresh coat of paint, and some might even say new beginnings feel like midnight after New Year's Eve. A painter's palette of fireworks explode with hope that has never felt disappointment. Brand new beginnings remind me of the candle musk of a new book with pages that haven't stepped into the footprints of crow's feet. However, sometimes brand new beginnings seem to be the alarm clock for my anxiety that remind me how much I prefer the sanctuary of solitude. I like to say I'm a full-time loner with, but never alone. My part-time friends live in a bookstore off 5th Ave, and we usually meet up like every other Saturday and discuss dreams that don't get enough sleep and love that is misunderstood and a hope that matches Casper. I usually dress down, but on the weekend escapades of my favorite colors, they are usually stitched within the essence of me and bleed through my accessories, dripping onto an array of paths that I could choose. Book number 1 is entitled Red Receipts, and it grabbed me first, jumping into the corner of my peripheral as if it was the stop waiting for my bus at the edge of the street. 5th Ave can get as busy, almost as the business in my mind, and over time is embedded in my pillow. So to flex my hours, I usually take a few cat naps just to catch up on things and discover the desired categories and let gravity of hours just float away. I love to let time watch me for a change and get lost in the poetry of stone-carved stories bound by the commandments of passion. Red receipts. Things have been a little rocky since our last date, and you still haven't replied to my last text, and I know you need to be watered and read and protected and comforted, but I've been stuck on the same chapter for more than a few days. They say start something else, but I'm not the type to go book hopping. I've typed a couple of books enough to know they have feelings too. Yes, I want you to come too. I can't stand the thought of our porcelain being broken up. I promise I'll read more between the lines of your life. Just promise me it's not too late, because late fees are never in the budget, and I don't want to budge for someone else to get what my heart will die for. But sometimes forever ends before the end. Book number 2 is entitled The Music of a Muse, and it interrupts what we have going on. Cheating isn't as off-putting as it used to be, so please forgive me. I told myself I'd never be that guy, but I just got to see what's inside. So I walked inside the walls of pages as her song scribbled across my guitar heartstrings. I love the conversations you pick that don't need words. I want to read your blank spaces just so I can feel what space is like. How do you make Earth feel like it has no gravity? I want to read the braille of your goosebumps let leave behind so I can feel every inch of everything. Thoughts are moving too fast. All this transpired within half a blink, eyes opened, and she was just sitting there, glowing. The music of a muse has a hug that scratches like the vinyl that only plays on the second try. And now I'm confused. Do I really want a second chance, or just another chance at love? I'm so confused. Love and lust is getting mixed up. And I know self-love is a must, lest you rot in the rust of forgotten titles. I really don't believe in titles, but there's the same girl coming up in different titles of these poems. Attention, the library is closing in 10 minutes. Where did the time go? I always get lost behind your eyes. Guess this is goodbye. Yes, never mind, I'll just bring both books with me.
All right, for Roses, we got a 3. 1, 2, 3. On the pie, we have a low score of a really tiny 8 that I can't read, but it's an 8. An 8. A 9.2 to 9.8. Give it up for Roses.
All right. Coming up next, give it up for Nikki. Come on, Nikki.
In her own opinion, Miss Peggy Bum was the best storyteller in the whole land. And everyone said she was the best storyteller in the whole land. And she would walk down into town and people would say, Miss Peggy Bum, tell us a story. And she would gather people around her, smiling, and tell them a story. And no one ever told a story because they didn't need to, because she was so good at it. But she got a little bored, and she wanted to go out and seek a bigger audience and different people hearing her. And so she went out into the world, and she was gone for a number of years. And she came back into town because she missed it. And people saw her, and some people said, who's she? And some people said, Miss Peggy Bum, tell us a story. And so she gathered those people together, smiling, and said, I'm going to tell you a story about a purple snake. And she heard somebody in the group say, oh, Joshua told that story. I know that story. That's really a good one. And she was really taken aback because no one had ever interrupted her before. She said, actually, I'm going to tell you a story about a small white owl. Oh, said someone in the group. Oh, Esther told that story. I love that story, the story about the owl. Well, Miss Peggy Bum didn't know what to do because no one had ever interrupted her before. And even worse, they were stealing her stories. And so she went up, she left the group, she walked up to the house of the wise teacher. And she said, wise teacher, they are stealing my stories. What can I do? And the teacher said, go get me a pillow and come back. So she walked down the hill, she got a pillow, she walked back up the hill, gave it to the teacher. And he held it in his hand like this, and he took out a knife, and he went, help me out here. Feathers everywhere. Feathers were blowing down the road and up in the air and down underneath. And Peggy Bum said, what are you doing? And he said, do you see these feathers? She said, yeah. And he said, these feathers are like your stories. You tell the stories and they go into the hearts and the minds and the bodies of the people who hear them. And after that, the stories become theirs as well as yours. And Miss Peggy Bum said, well, what can I do about that? And the teacher said, you can let them go. Thank you.
All right, one more time for Nikki. Y'all get for Nikki. 1, 2, 3. On the pie, we have a low score of a 9.0. 9.6 and 9.8. Give Slam champion 2025. Coming up next, give it up for T.J. Rankin.
Learned that.
Why was I speeding down the road when I knew what I would find there at the hospital? Why was I screaming, cussing, when I knew what my dad said on the phone? They called it. Perhaps I thought if I moved fast enough, I could stop what had already happened. Grief has a whole reason all its own. When I got to the ER, I found this little partition reserved for one Betty Morgan. You know, my grandmother, she was already a very small lady, but when she was empty, she looked so tiny. The tube that had resuscitated or attempted to resuscitate her was still in her mouth, and her teeth, which always stuck out, were jutting out even further like little white tombstones. When the denial had finally passed, my brain was consumed by a very selfish thought instead. Well, damn it, grandmother, why did you have to die the week before finals? Okay, but in my defense, all right, it was the finals, as in the actual finals. I would have done this, I would have my degree in English, and my whole life was ahead of me. Jobs would fall out of the sky like manna, or so my teachers told me. 2 tests, 3 essays was all that stood in between me and the rest of my life, but how was I supposed to focus on that when one of the constants of my life was gone? When I was 11, my grandmother moved down to the same town as me to be near us. There wasn't a week that I didn't see her. Every trip we had, she was right there with us. And every Christmas, we were right there at her house, oldest to youngest, and back again. That's how we opened presents. And then It's a Wonderful Life, and my mom telling her to sit down, quit cleaning, watch the movie every year. 50 pages was all I needed to write, but I couldn't focus at all. I would write a single paragraph, and then all of the energy would come filtering out of the back of my head in a spigot that was there. 2 tests, 3 essays, 50 plus pages, all done over 8 days, each hour like an eon. But I got it done. And when I walked that stage with grief still weighing down my heart, the word summa cum laude followed my name. My mom took my picture at the front of her porch. She was crying. My mom's always crying, though. She said she would be so proud of you. I'm not going to list out every grievance I have towards life, but that was the beginning of some pretty hard years during my 20s. But that was a different beginning too, right? I had a degree, I had a tangible thing that said, I can do this. And when life threw things my way, as it is wont to do, I looked at that and I remembered what I went through and that I could get through it. And I think that my grandmother would be proud of me for that too.
Yeah.
All right, for TJ, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold on, my pal. We have a low score of a 9.9. And 2 10s for TJ Rankin. All right, coming up next, we have, give it up for Haley Turner, everybody.
Last year, I auditioned for a play completely on a whim, having no previous experience or even interest in theater, not knowing what to do, how to act, anything about the organization or people involved. The night before, I saw a post come up from a venue I follow saying, "Open auditions for upcoming play. No need to prepare anything, just show up within the time frame if interested." And I thought, can show up somewhere unprepared and interested. Let's see what happens. I didn't tell anyone what I was going to go do. I just wanted to go try this new thing on my own, and if I ended up getting cast, then maybe I would tell people. As I walked out the door, I said to my husband, I'm going to go audition for a play. Be back later. Bye. I walked into the theater, and it was completely silent. There were 7 people sitting at the very front with their heads down, studying scripts. I hesitantly crept in, wondering if I was in the right place, knowing very well that I was. I quietly sat down in a row behind everybody by myself, not wanting to break the silence. A woman came up to me and greeted me warmly, in what I now know to be a stage whisper. She brought me to the front, handed me some paperwork to fill out, gave me a copy of the script, and explained we would begin with the cold reading soon. I walked back to my seat with the weight of tension from this question, what the heck am I doing here? But the excitement of getting to explore something new, wondering if I might be any good at it, took over. 2 more people introduced themselves to me. One whom I found out was the director, the other was the assistant director. They asked what my experience with storytelling was, or with acting was, and I explained I had never done anything with theater before, but I had been doing live stage storytelling for the last 5 years and was hoping that those skills could be translated to acting. It turned out they did. After what was called an impressive audition, I ended up getting cast in a small, offstage voice-only role so that I could start out with something that felt more comfortable while learning how theater works. And then, for the next play, the director decided to take a risk on me and throw me into the fire. He cast me in a lead role, and I gulped my way through, feeling like I was holding my head just above water the entire time, while simultaneously consuming myself with everything I possibly could to prepare myself for this endeavor. You know what? It paid off. Guys, I soared through this play. And it required an Irish accent at that. And then for the next play, which was even crazier, because it was a musical, and I had literally never sung before, didn't even know I could sing, but with a ton of practice, coaching, and encouragement, I found out that was something that I could do too, and got cast in a role that required solos and duets. And the night before we opened, reality set in, and I was saying, wait, what am I about to do? Who am I? But it showed me that I was doing things that I would have never even dreamed of doing, or even think I would be capable of doing a year ago. And I'm now a staple member of this theater that feels more like home than any place ever has, providing a sacred ground for exploration, creativity, growth, and learning on what has felt like my own personal playground to freely run around and be authentically me while morphing into something spectacularly unrecognizable, fulfilling a lifelong dream I didn't even know was unfulfilled until I went to my first audition. Thank you.
All right, fame, on the count of 3, we're almost there. I left the hat there, I'm gonna read it in a minute. All right, 1, 2, 3, I'm up 5. Seasoned judges. I don't know what that is. Is that a new language? Not you, the new language. What is that? What is that?
8.8.
I got you. Hold up again. We have a low score of 8.8. We have a 9.2 and a 9.6. Give it up for Haley. Haley drove all the way from Tyler, and she's also a previous Story Slam champion. Give it up one more time, y'all. Catches in Winsboro, y'all, in May. There it is right there. All right, y'all ready? Coming up next, we've got hats right here. Give it up for Earl, everybody. Give it for Earl, everybody. Come on, Earl.
I graduated from a small liberal arts college in Mississippi, Delta State, with a degree in speech. But I wanted to be an actor, so I immediately filled out an application for the Dallas Theater Center because they had a graduate program in acting. And I quickly got a rejection letter explaining to me that I had been in a college that didn't even have a theater degree, even though I'd done a little theater. And they strongly recommended I go out and I find a place like a big city and audition and build up a resume and feel free to re-register in the future. So I did that. I went to Atlanta, but I got a job as a tech director at a dinner theater, which meant I couldn't audition or act anywhere. So 4 years later, I decided I'm going back to my home in Mississippi, to this small college, and get a new beginning. And get what people have been telling me to do a real degree. So I went back in computer science, and I did really well, so well that 2 months before I finished, I am hired by Holiday Inn International in Memphis, Tennessee to be a computer programmer. So I'm 2 weeks away from moving to Memphis and finding a place to live. And the phone rings in my student apartment. And I answer it, and this voice says, "Miss McGlinnan, this is Tim Haynes. I'm the registrar here at the Dallas Theater Center. We've had someone drop out at the last minute, and we got your application, and we want to invite you in for an audition." And I said, I haven't filled out an application for 7 years. He says, "Well, hold on a minute." And here, shuffling the papers, and he comes back and he says, "Mr. McGlinnan, I'm terribly sorry. We're putting our paper applications in the new computer system. Somehow, your application from 7 years ago got mixed in. I'm sorry to bother." I said, "Wait a minute. What if I wanted to come and audition?" He said, "Well, you'd have to be here in 2 days. You bring a photo, resume, and a 3-minute monologue." I said, "Well, I got to tell you, I've been in Atlanta, but I haven't gotten any experience since when I applied before. Will be wasting my time." He said, "No, Theater Center's now under the command of Mr. Paul Baker, and he doesn't want people with a lot of background. We're going to teach you our way, our philosophy. We want raw talent. He's from West Texas. He's a good old boy. We want people who want to learn with us." So 2 days later, I go there. Now, my photo and my resume are 7 years old, and I don't have any books or any kind of scripts with me, so I take Man of La Mancha, the soundtrack, and there's a little blurb on there where he talks before he sings, and I transcribe that and I memorize it and I go in. Well, first of all, I walk into the auditions and I'm demoralized immediately because people are talking about their summer rep work, or I've toured with this, and by the time I get into the interview portion, I am just babbling. I'm telling them about this thing in Memphis that I really don't want to do, but I've got a job, and they're going to give me a car, and there are full benefits, it pays really good, but I really want to act, and I don't have any experience, and I haven't gotten any experience. And so when I get up to do the audition, I do terribly. I have to start 3 times because I forget the words, and I slink out of there, and I go back to my hotel, and I'm packing up, I'm getting ready to get in my car and drive back home, and the phone rings in the hotel room. And I pick it up. It says, "Miss McGlinnan, this is Tim Haynes. We'd like to offer you that slot in our program." I said, "Tim, you're talking to Errol McGlinnan. I think you've got the wrong guy." He says, No, we want you." I said, "Tim, my audition was horrible." He said, "Yep, worst we've ever seen." "But in talking to you, you're giving up this job, and you have the passion." He said, "We can teach you the technique, but we can't teach you passion. So we'd like you to come and be a part of our program." And I did, and it was the beginning of 50 years in the theater. Now, I don't have a big fancy house in Memphis, 3 cars, a retirement, a pension, but I get to come here and tell stories to you guys. And you know what? I'm okay with that. Thank you.
You're all right? Welcome to Story Slam. Those those who don't know me, I'm Mike Webb, that's insignificant. But the scores right now for my brother Earl. 1, 2, 3. Hold up high. We have a low score of a 9.8, a 9.8, and a 9.8. Give it up for Earl. Based on who checked in, please welcome to the stage Emmanuel A. Garcia. Give it up, everybody.
Hi, my name is Emmanuel A. Garcia, and I am a recovering devout optimist, which is an extension of my qualms with religion. But let it be clear, this is not a critique on religion as a whole, but rather the mediums in which it waterfalls out and onto humanity at large. Because I used to attend Abundant Grace Life Church, a non-denominational smorgasbord of hymnal breathers and double-breasted soup prophesizers. My father, he sang in the all-men's choir, and my mother, she baked pretzels in the shape of heretics with a side of honey mustard. Oh, good as sin. But still, besides all that, I think I used to go to church mostly out of a search for connection. I'd sit in my corner of the pew praying for that one eureka moment when I'd lock eyes with another restless Holy Spirit, and we'd start lifting our equally heavy golden crosses at each other, the very same that our hands had purchased for our baptisms, the very same that almost strangled us when they got caught on the swing set at our cousin's Gwen Stefani Team Quinceañera, hashtag relatable. And with that universal nugget of cosmic connection forged, every time we see each other next, it'd be sort of like very sloppy versions of the Holy Trinity, which we thought were really wholesome gang signs. It would have been great had that actually happened. Not just in my fantasies. But fantasies aside, it would have been a faith-based fight club, except an emphasis on the club portion of that. Surely a community of like-minded people, sort of like politicians, narcissists. Kidding, sort of. But, you know, even though I consider that to be the case, narcissists really were amongst us. Because growing up in an area of Texas that I would lovingly refer to as the Bible Belt Fanny Pack, you learn to believe in just about anything, especially when it comes to how experimental religion can actually be. For me, it was my Sunday school youth leader, Brother John. Now, Brother John was a 6'5" giant with a speaking voice like extra virgin olive oil and a sense of humor like a Bazooka Joe punchline. He had his entire youthful congregation ensnared with one of the almightiest hidden talents of the early 2000s. You know where I'm going with this. Ventriloquism. Yes. This right here is the byproduct of a steady diet of puppeteered scripture, with bold testimonials from the likes of Terry Fader and Jeff Dunham. Oh, gonna get a problematic Hosanna. With that aside, we were taught the Word of God very well via a scraggly-looking Blue Jay puppet that was called Stevie. Now, Stevie, who sounded as if he was sort of a blend between Pee Wee Herman and Marge Simpson from The Simpsons, if they had sort of a love child out of wedlock and then abandoned it somewhere in an alleyway, well, he had me, at bent knee, proclaiming every biblical narrative that I could recall from old VHS copies of Adventures in Odyssey or Veggie Tales. Say there, Pete, care to teach the young boys and girls how to get a guaranteed spot in heaven?
Well, sure there. It's super easy and simple. All you have to do is eat your vegetables, say your prayers, and the most important thing, never lose faith in the one true God.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Adrian Brody, who? But seriously, back then this was Shakespearean? I don't know. At that early age, I was very impressionable, and I really wanted someone to be my spiritual advisor, so Stevie took the part. So, one day, after service had let out, and everyone was in the parking lot saying their farewells, I rushed back into the auditorium space, pushed past the curtains, and I jumped onto that stage where he was last seen. And there he was, draped over an abandoned music stand, his Jesus Rocks t-shirt just barely hanging on the bottom of his torso. And I opened myself up to him like never before as I sat below him, and I was changed. Because at some point I must have bumped into that music stand, and he fell in my lap, and as I held him there, without Brother John's zany charisma, filled in the gaps and knocked out everything that Stevie represented. His smoke and mirror entrails, all of it just seemed hollow. You know, maybe so did I. Nowadays, I don't really consider myself all that spiritual, but I do know we are connected by some mighty force. And I still have some version of faith, it's just maybe with less vocal variations. I no longer idealize folks who make a living throwing their voices onto burning bushes, expecting a young boy to just get over a 1,000-yard stare as he waits for someone to deliver him a completed version of who he has been searching for his entire life, himself. Thank you.
For Emmanuel A. Garcia, on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, hold up high, we have a low score of a 9.7. We have a 9, and we have 2 10s. Give it up, everybody. I have the scores right here. That was it. Just need to fill in the blanks, you know what I'm saying? I want to say thank you all for coming out. But now we're going to go to the liars thing. And then also, if you want to go over there, check in the main office, the main desk, and see if it's, anything you can do to get in there and see what's going on. If you have not signed out sign-in sheet for funding, please sign that for us, okay? And I'm going to give you the, who did what, when, and where, okay? Good?
And they can't get it.
Oh, there it is right there. You're in it for free, y'all. So go check it out.
Hey, everybody, it's been raining real hard, as you probably know, so be careful when you go out. Don't splash in the puddles unless you really want to.
All right, so we're right at 1:45 before you go, and we go ahead and give the results, okay? We have a tiny Oscar and a check to the winner. That's right. Okay, here it is.
My best.
Tied for 6th place, we have PC and Steve. Give it up for them, give it up for them. In 5th place with 28.4, give it up for Nikki. In 4th place with a score of 28.6, give it up for Julie. All right, 0.4 separated the 3rd from 1st. In 3rd place with a 29.4, give it up for Earl, everybody. Earl. In 2nd place, losing by only 0.2 with a 29.7, give it up for Emmanuel A. Garcia and your winner.